If you want to be able to buy the most expensive players and open the best packs in FC24, go to u7buy.com to buy your EA FC24 coins. It's cheaper than buying FC points and just as reliable. With their already amazing prices, you can get an extra 6% using promo code Inception at checkout. Hey guys, what's going on? Inception here, and welcome to another video. We'll consider this the main content for today. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, with the promo cards usually, I don't know, promos where it's like based off of like upgrades and stuff. It's more sort of like pack some cards, and some SBCs you have to kind of like wait for upgrades to like really be nice. But for the evolution today, we have Elite Quartet, which gives some pretty significant upgrades to some cards. I think it's a lot of cards actually. I don't think it's just some cards. I think there's a ton that you can probably give these bad boys to make them as like usable as possible and all that kind of stuff. Some cards they trend by a lot, mainly because of like who it is more than it is like the in-game qualities, but some of them are actually like very solid as well. So it just depends on how you kind of want to improve some of these bad boys, right? But this evolution has a relentless stat increase, incisive pass plus, and the Trivela, and then you have the quick step plus and the regular press proven. Long one or long ball pass will be the last one as well, which obviously pretty decent to work with too, right? So a couple of different evolution choices that you could definitely go with this one. Some of the trending ones in this area you kind of have to be a little bit mindful of. So I think with the playstyle pluses that they end up giving some of these cards, gonna be honest with you, with all these playstyles, it really seems like the best players to pick are going to be midfielders in a general sense, right? So whether that's, you know, left mid, right mid, center mid, you know, striker that's playing as a false nine, like that sort of deal, I feel like those are going to be the best players to choose, right? Because there's players like this, right, that have been drastically increased, but the playstyle pluses, I'm not gonna say that they're not as relevant, because honestly some of these would still work out really well for him, right? Anticipate, quick steps even really nice, just to be able to kind of move out of certain positions, and a long ball pass, right? But incisive pass and stuff, like you're kind of wasting it on a center back unless you plan on using them in like a 3-back formation where they're played as like a left center back or a right center back, something like that, right? You have players like Ronaldo that gets one. I think these playstyle pluses, it's not bad for him, right? But obviously for Ronaldo, he's mainly trending just because it's Ronaldo, because there's a lot of things that are really low on this card for the current meta of the game, I would say. I think that, you know, when it comes to like the dribbling, all that kind of stuff, like guys, I'm going to be honest with you, with Ronaldo in this year's game, you have to go with the higher rated ones to like really be able to utilize him, right? So I think with the evolution, in my opinion, it would just be a waste. This is where it gets a little bit more interesting, right? In my opinion, with the evolution, especially if it's like a 200k version of this card. The reason why I'm saying this is because Jude Bellingham generally has like pretty decent base capabilities, especially if you don't have the team of the season version. Because these playstyle pluses, they just make more sense for this card. Why? Because with Jude Bellingham, you would typically give him a shadow chemistry style, right? You're working with better pace, better defending. Key thing here is that he's not a lengthy to work with the pace, which I feel like is very relevant to work with for a lot of the midfielders nowadays, to be able to catch up to certain attackers that consistently go for the counterattacks. But Bellingham from a rare gold upgrade into the Elite Quartet for 200k, with all of those playstyle pluses, it just makes more sense, right? Relentless, incisive pass, quick step, and the long ball pass would work out fantastically in the center mid position, because he still has like intercept, he still has press proven and stuff, and it does make the card perform significantly better in game, right? So with Jude Bellingham on the evolution, that's not a bad choice in my opinion, because again, I think the playstyle pluses make more sense for him. You have some other players here like Szoboszlai. With Szoboszlai, I think if you were to use this card, it would have to be the Foot Champs version of it, and then you used him into the evolutions to drastically increase him, because the improvements were pretty nice, I would say, for a card like this. Generally speaking, they definitely should have given this card like defensive stats in a general sense, right? But from the radioactive card, you could put this card into it. He's still a little bit strangely formatted, to be honest with you, right? Technically speaking, you could give him the finisher to increase his dribbling and his shooting to be as high as possible while working with a 99 for sprint speed at a 5-star weak foot. But I think meta intensive purposes wise, I don't know if people would go with this one as much. Now, generally speaking, if you do use him in your team and he's your attacking center mid in a 4-3-2-1, I could actually see him doing a pretty solid job in that general area, right? So again, with cards like Eder Militao and stuff, I think that the stat increase is really nice, but playstyle pluses, guys, is very, very important. And the fact that he doesn't have any is not great, because you look at this card, you look at the fact that he is given a bunch of very, very good playstyle pluses. They just make more sense for the defensive players, right? So obviously he's a center back, but those improvements are really nice. Honestly, even if you were to give those improvements to a fullback, depending on who it is especially, I think that would make more sense as well, right? So you got a card like Zambrotta who gets one. Zambrotta, I feel like would be pretty decent for sure, because you know, this card on an anchor still remains to be a lengthy player. You give him the stat boost in the physical, defense, and pace departments, working with a better weak foot. You know, lengthy while working with high pace, I think for the meta of the game currently just makes more sense. And he does have some pretty decent base playstyles as well, right? Because I think all these playstyles would still be incredibly helpful in that fullback position, right? Because there's so many situations where a long ball pass for your right mid, your left mid, your ram, your lamb, or whatever formation you're using for that specific spot, that's great. Quick step is great for those positions too. Incisive pass, also very good. And then relentless, right? So for a fullback, it just kind of makes more sense in my opinion. Sorry guys, moving on with the evolution choices. Musiala. So Musiala gets one as well. Technical plus. I don't think the team of the season is that expensive, right? Yeah, 251k. Because this is a paid evolution, right? Now, to be fair, like I mentioned earlier, these playstyle pluses for these types of cards would make more sense. And technically speaking, if you were to give him a Shadow or a Hunter and then use them as the attacking oriented center mid, it wouldn't be a horrible situation, right? He does have some very decent playstyles in a general sense. The playstyle pluses are also very good to work with. Can't really go wrong with that decision. Rodrigo gets the incisive pass, the quick step, and the long ball pass from the inform version. Rodrigo has had some evolutions in the past where it makes his dribbling 99, and I think that if you were to go in the direction of the evolution, it would probably make the most sense to kind of go down that direction for these types of cards. Because Rodrigo definitely has a thing to his left stick a little bit at this point in the game, for sure. Definitely has a little bit more of a thing to it. Obviously with this card though, as proven and stuff, right, could definitely be a very helpful change, because if you look at the my playstyles, yeah, so if you look at like Trailblazers and stuff, like these cards don't have it, and that does make a difference, right? It does make the card feel more responsive whenever you're given the opportunity, because I think a card like this, you got to try to make him as responsive as possible. You could technically go down the route of giving him a hawk to increase the pace and the physical while giving him the shooting boost, right? But that's more for the Real Madrid fans, they can't get a different type of version of him, right? We have cards like Gravenberg, who gets a nice improvement as well. I think a card like this would be cool for the Liverpool fans, because he's obviously formatted a certain way where, you know, you can obviously give him the shadow chemistry style to increase defense and the pace and stuff. But unfortunately, you would have to give him an anchor in order to make him a lengthy player. Now, it's very important to mention that with pace and having lengthy for these bigger guys, it is way more helpful to work with. So the fact that he doesn't have it is a little bit of a letdown, right? But for a Liverpool player that, I mean, we never know if he's going to get any sort of card in the future, that's like a potential option that you can work with too. Capdevila also trending as well as a fullback. I don't think I've tried Capdevila one time this year, or I may have in a team and I just haven't realized. But I mean, he could still be a decent card. I don't think he's going to be as good as some previous years. Like I remember, I think it was last year, where in the left back position I was like super onto like Camavinga being like an absolute beast, and then when this card released, I think it was like a Footies or something, Footies right back or left back, something like that, he was insane, right? But I don't know if he'll be on that same exact level for this year's game. I do think it would be a little bit different. But again, these play styles, they're all incredibly helpful for the fullback position, especially the passing ones, right? Because the incisive pass plus, always look into it, right? Through passes. So it's through passes and long passes that would be really good for these types of guys, right? So a 200k left back that gives you links. Some people might be interested in something like that. You know, you have these types of cards like Keane as well that you could improve for 200k for people that are, you know, super into a card like this. That, in my opinion, you would have to give like an engine to make him as responsive as possible. But he could be really nice, right? Because these playstyle pluses, again, for the general buildup, like you can make him your false 9 type of player because they also gave him that press proven, right? So the press proven, again, it adds to the card. It kind of allows him to play a specific way. For 4-4-2s and then for general build-up play, it would be significantly better to work with too. But you're going to be able to see a lot of different options for this. As I mentioned, I think the best types of options that you should probably go for are always going to be the midfielders, the fullbacks, and attackers that essentially can act like a false 9. I think that's going to be a very, very important thing to look into for a lot of these cards, because you can see that the list obviously goes on and on. Like there's going to be a bunch of players you can obviously improve. McAllister gets one too. Like McAllister would actually be a pretty solid card. He did receive a new card, which, to be fair, looks really, really good, because generally speaking, I actually like the way McAllister plays in this game, right? And all these playstyle pluses, I feel like would make him a very, very good player, right? Like he's expensive for, in my opinion, obvious reasons, because he looks good, right? I think if you guys ever tried that Showdown card and you did the Showdown Plus and stuff, he was actually like better than I thought he would be, right? So the Shadow Chemistry style for this card to increase the pace and defense would be really sick. This one would be a similar situation, I believe, right? Where, you know, you give him the Shadow, good acceleration, good sprint speed, defensive stats massively increased, but a cheaper version of a card that gets really good stats all around. But just remember that these playstyle pluses for a midfielder are more relevant, right? Having intercept plus, especially tiki-taka with press proven to make him feel responsive on the ball, passing the ball, right? Also has that that pinged pass to work with too. And then he also has like generally very good play styles as well, right? So there's a couple of things you can work with for a card like McAllister. Lucas Vazquez gets one as well. So obviously, if he did not do the Team of the Season card into an evolution afterwards, because he did have the choice of putting it, of putting it into an evolution. Some people might have done that during that time period. This is now your new card, right? That still gets very good playstyle pluses. You give him that anchor chemistry style, and it's a good all-round fullback for the most part, right? I will say that for me personally, I do prefer to have players that are aura lengthy while being fast. You know, for instance, I think this Kai Havertz SBC card, when this thing fully got upgraded on an anchor, absolute monster, right? Because the anchor keeps him at a mostly lengthy, good pace, defense and physical, good physical presence. I personally like those types of cards a little bit more. Koundé wouldn't be a bad one, because you can actually kind of adjust his playstyle to be a little bit different, right? Because, you know, with his dribbling being the way that it is possible to actually use this card as a right back if you wanted to, but it might not be like the most ideal choice, especially since you are paying for this evolution, right? You got cards like Kostic, who gets one as well. Pretty significant improvements for his card. Passing playstyles are always a nice thing. And he kind of looks like he's formatted for a finisher, I would say. Yeah, you can make him a controlled lengthy player as well, which wouldn't be a horrible decision, especially if you give him like a marksman to increase his dribbling to be at least a little bit more responsive. But his agility and balance and stuff is already really low, so he kind of looks like an actual left mid that is specifically playing in a 3-back formation or center mid position as the attacking oriented center mid, because of the 5-star, 4-star capability, average and normal body type, so on and so forth, right? Bacha gets one as well from the rare gold improvement. An obvious shadow chemistry style for her, just to increase the sprint speed to be as high as possible while increasing the defense and then working with the lower physical. But again, with the playstyle pluses that she is given on the whipped pass plus the other passing playstyles, the quick step, I think this would be a really cool choice as well, for sure. Don't get me wrong, guys. Listen, with the center back improvements, they're nice cards, and I do believe that the base stats of those cards being improved is a nice thing. But The thing is, though, is that for the you have to think of it like this, right? It's just the longevity of the game, because they understand this, right? And that's why they release, you know, promo version of these cards where they give them actual defensive playstyles, because it's just way more relevance to have than it is for you to have playstyles that are more for like a general build-up. You know what I'm saying? Like the passing ones especially, it just makes more sense for like midfielder types, fullback types, right? Now with Varane, to be fair to him, he does have the Anticipate Plus, which is obviously very nice. But like I said, guys, they're just missing certain things past the base card stats that I feel like would be very relevant. If playstyles was not a thing, then I would look into these cards a little bit more, right? Like Bisek and stuff. Like Bisek's always a card that trends, but that's not even part of the Elite Quartet, so not relevant. Let's see what else we have here. So Koundé, yeah. Ivan Martin, center mid. I'm guessing this guy is like a cam type, right? 4-star, 5-star, Hawk, chemistry style probably. High-low work rates, 5-star weak foot. Hawk chemistry style gives him the shooting, the pace, and the physical boosts. More for sentimental value, but he looks decent, right? Like players like this getting the improvements, it makes more sense, right? Because they have defensive stats. You give them the base pace, shooting, and physical. But if these cards were on the market, it would be a little bit cheaper, right? Isak, honestly, if you were going to do this card, there was one evolution that I didn't do the review for, but he was actually like pretty nice. It might have been this one or this one. It was this one, I think, for the ultimate attack free one. Never did his review. The review would have done well, honestly, but again, motivation this year is incredibly low. But with Isak, I think if you were to go in that direction, it would have been nice. I wouldn't necessarily use this card as a false 9 type, right? Because he's a person that I want on that get in behind. Like these playstyles would still be nice for him, of course, right? Like Quick Step, especially with the Trivela Plus for sure. But yeah, I would try to aim for someone that's kind of like a striker that's like a cam striker, right? Because like those false 9 type players would be really cool. Because like even Rodrigo, right? Rodrigo would kind of make sense for the playstyles because you could technically give him that instruction of playing as a false 9 striker, or if you're playing him in the right or left attacking mid position, left mid, right mid, like it makes more sense for that, I think, right? Bompastor, I think Bompastor is a card that just has like great base capabilities. I think she definitely is that type of card. And to be fair, for this card, she's very well formatted. The only problem with her is that she doesn't get significant boosts for certain areas of the card. Do I like her base capabilities? Absolutely. I think she's definitely very, very nice, but probably not going to be the card that people go for, right? Alexander-Arnold would be a cool one, but then you also have the pace being low. Maybe if he had like a position change where you could play him in the CDM position, then it'd be cool, but in the right back position, he is not a lengthy player to push pace out of the card to play in that right back position, in my opinion. Excuse me. Ashley Cole gets an improvement from the base icon card. I say base icon card like there's any different ones. There's just promo cards nowadays. I know I don't play the game as much, right? Cole gets some nice improvements. Anchor chemistry style would increase the card. So not too bad there, right? Trying to see if there's ones that like really pop out for me, right? Because some of these cards, they already have like team of the seasons, and honestly, I'd rather go down that route. Not completely against this Fred card, but if you were going to get Fred, you might as well have gotten like this version here, and then you were going to do the hold on, it's going to load a second. Then you would do like the evolutions on top of that. I think that'd make a little bit more sense. But at the same time, like this is still a nice card. I think this card is not poorly formatted, right? Shadow chemistry style would give him some really nice boosts. As a midfielder playing for Fenerbahce, you can't really go wrong with that. I think the play styles are very nice for the attacking oriented center mid for people that actually like to use different types of teams. Nuno Mendes gets one. Nuno Mendes could actually be a very interesting one because he has like nice base mechanics, but this was before the patch when I used to use him a little bit more because of that one evolution that came out. How he feels nowadays would be a little bit different. I like the way that his defense animations worked before, especially since he does provide those link ups and stuff. But yeah, it'd be hard to say exactly what he's like. Again, the playstyles are all very nice. He has some pretty good base play styles being added to the card as well. So as a fullback could definitely be really cool for sure. Raspadori 4-star 5-star, 4-star 5-star. Kvaratskhelia 5-star 5-star. Dybala from what? From the rare gold? He's cooler on these ones because they got like finesse shots, and I think finesse shots kind of crazy to work with, especially with the evolutions that you have on those bad boys. Verratti. Verratti still has a PSG card. Word. Really low pace though. Some of these cards we skip past because they already have like cards that if you wanted to get them, it would have made more sense to get them. But I'm looking at it more from like a sentimental perspective. You know, I think that's like very important to mention because some of these guys just don't get cards. Like 300k for Anthony is a little crazy, I think. Hutchinson, like if it's like sentimental like this for someone that plays for Ipswich Town. Town? Is it Town? I swear it's Ipswich Town, isn't it? I could be wrong. Trossard, Mane. Again, these guys are not bad to choose because you could use them in the side positions, right? And I don't think they're like super poorly formatted if you went down this route with the Arsenal players. But yeah, for the most part, when it comes to like a paid evolution like this, I'd probably avoid doing it for players like Ronaldo. Nelson gets an improvement from the Arsenal players. This card is like very low in multiple areas, eh? This one is interesting because if he gets another evolution on top of this one, then it could be potentially really cool. Right? To turn him into a 5-star player. But he needs a drastic boost in like multiple areas of the card. Varane, Szoboszlai. So yeah, Varane I think like Varane is interesting because I feel like he could have good defensive animations, but like again, playstyle pluses I think are very important in this game. But as I mentioned, I think if it was up to me, I would try to go for a midfielder or fullback to be able to utilize these playstyles, right? Like again, I'm not looking into cards like Saka and stuff because they have team of the season cards that are really nice if you wanted to go down that route. But that's pretty much it, I would say. Because these playstyles, and I'm telling you, if it's like a center mid and stuff, and the player itself already has like an intercept, like Bellingham, I think making the most sense is very valid because he already has a base intercept, but then they're giving him good center mid playstyles. So yeah, if you're looking into this evolution, I would definitely look down that route. If we were to go to easy SBC, I'm sure that they have like a couple of options that could be pretty decent. They have like a meta thing where it says like which cards they think would be really nice. A+. I think they added like a new feature to this, right? So you can drastically improve cards that obviously, you know, you probably like at first. Like Correa is one of them, but Correa's had a few cards that are nice. Rodri would not be a bad one for Elite Quartet if you put him into Incisive Pass Master into Elite Quartet. Good base improvements for a lot of these cards here. Otavio, if I was building like an FC Porto team, he would have been a really cool one for like attacking center mid. But you would have had to wait a while to get a card like this, and then you have to pay 200k for him, and it's like, would you have paid 200k for him if he was on the market? A kind of thing, you know. It's one of those types of things where it's a little weird to explain, right? But yeah, some pretty significant improvements. Definitely look in the route of improving cards that are sentimental value if you go down this route, because I think the improvements would mean more for people that are trying to use cards that are probably not as meta to work with, which, gonna be honest with you guys, I haven't really seen one time this year, but maybe some people actually do it. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy this video today. I'll catch you guys for the next one. Peace out, dudes. Love you guys.